Okay, so today we're going to be working with a formula for Pythagorean theorem, and this is something that you're going to have to memorize. It's actually a really easy concept to memorize, or a formula to memorize. It's going to be working with understanding what A and B are versus what C is. So our formula is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Most common made mistake when kids are working with this is they think it's A squared times B squared. So remember, we're adding. So A squared times B squared is going to give us that third side of C. So what does that really mean? Well, your A and your B in this formula are what they call the legs of the triangle. So this only works for right triangles. So understanding how to go through and actually break down what a right triangle's pieces are. Well, these are what you call the legs of the triangle. They're the ones that make up that right angle. The two legs are the ones that make up the right angle of the triangle. So once again, this only works for right triangles. Your hypotenuse, that's probably a new word to many of you, is going to be that third side, or this is your C side. So the hypotenuse is really your longest side. It's opposite the right angle if you need that, but that is going to be your C, okay? So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to actually be using our orders of operation. We're going to be solving for a variable, and we're going to be substituting, okay? So we're going to use previously learned knowledge. The new information today is just understanding the makeup of the formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and understanding the parts of that triangle. So our parts of a right triangle, our legs make up our right angle, and then our hypotenuse is that third side that's opposite the right angle, okay? So let's go ahead and practice this concept, because this is what we're going to be doing throughout the whole lesson. So on here we have A and B. Remember, these are our legs of our triangle. So our legs of the triangle make up the right angle. So here's our A, and here's our B, for those of you that are visual. So now we're going to go ahead and plug that information in to our equation. So where we have A, I'm going to write a 3 squared. Don't forget we have to write the squared. Plus 4 squared equals C squared, which we don't know what C is. You understand where I'm pulling this information? I'm just pulling the numbers where I had A and where I had B. Now, one thing that you need to understand is if you had flip-flopped the A and the B, that's okay. You just can't flip-flop an A with a C. Okay, so you have to use your legs in this part of the equation, but you can have these reversed if you would like to. If somebody else looked at this and said, well, I used the 4 as my A side and the 3 is my B side, that's okay. This is A, this is B, that's okay. You can reverse those, but you cannot interchange with that hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always going to sit on the right side of the equal sign. Okay, that has to be our C side. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and solve this. So now I'm looking at it as an equation. So my PEMDAS, parentheses, I don't have any. Do I have any exponents? Yes, I need to solve my exponents. So 3 squared gives me 9. Plus 4 squared gives me 16, and that's going to equal C squared. So now when I go through and I simplify this, now I get to go ahead and do my 9 plus 16, which gives me 25, equals C squared. So now here's the thing that oftentimes people forget. Remember, we can't have it as C squared. We need it to just be a C. So I need to get rid of that squared by doing the square root. Okay, that's going to cancel this part out. So now I need to do the square root over here. Okay, so C is left on this side equals the square root of 25 is 5. So my side length for C is 5. Now if that's 5 inches or meters, it doesn't matter. But I just found out that C was 5. Okay, so we're going to practice some of these where they're leaving the hypotenuse off. And then eventually we're going to get rid of and leave off one of the legs. We're still going to follow the same formula. Okay, so here's our next one. Our formula is up above. Okay, so it doesn't matter. These are our A and B. It doesn't matter which one you choose to put where. Okay, I'll do this one as A and this one is B. If you reverse them, that's okay. So A is 10, remembering to put my squared on that. Plus for B, I chose my 24 side. Put my squared on that. Equals, I don't know the C, so I'm still going to have to put C squared. Okay, so now I follow orders of operation. Let's go ahead and simplify it. So my 10 squared gives me 100. plus, I don't know 24 squared off the top of my head, so 24 times 24 is 576 equals c squared. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish simplifying that. So 100 plus 576 gives me 676 equals c squared. Now to get that squared out of there, remember I'm going to do the square root. Okay, that canceled that out. So the square root of 676 is 26. So I just found out that c equals 26. Okay, and would it make logical sense if I had put 676 where c is? It's not that much longer, but it is my longest side. My hypotenuse is my longest side. It should be my longest number, or sorry, my biggest number, but it shouldn't be like a crazy, crazy big number. It should still be relatively close to the next side. This was my next longest side. There's not that much difference between these, but had I put 676 for an answer there, that really wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense. That wouldn't be 676. It's not that much longer than the 24 side. So make sure that you're doing that square root in the end and make sure that you're checking. Does it make logical sense? Okay. So I want you guys to go through, pause your video and work your way through this one. Once again, A and B, I'll go ahead and identify for you. So let's go ahead and do A and B. Now, if you flip-flopped them, that's okay. So go ahead, pause your video, work your way through and see if you can figure out what C equals. Okay, you should have gotten C equals 17 on this triangle. You're not always going to get perfect whole numbers, so just be prepared. Sometimes you will end up with a decimal number, and that's okay. If you get a decimal number, just round to the first decimal place, so the nearest tenth. You don't have to write really long decimal numbers. Lots of times I will tell you that if you come across where it's not a perfect square, they may leave that as the square root of a number. To me, that doesn't tell me a whole lot. I would rather see the decimal number, but I have noticed like on tests, when like a standardized test, they'll leave it as the square root if it's not a perfect square, okay? So just make sure that you're paying attention if you're taking an assessment and you have multiple choice. Pay attention. How are they giving the answers? Do they want the decimal? Do they leave it as a square root? Okay, so here we're going to